right now TikTok because you start shadow banning my account the minute I start speaking up on Congo. That's not cool.
Stephanie, they're not shadow banning you because of that. I could tell you about 100 other reasons why TikTok might shadow ban you. I don't think it's because of that video. If you were going to be shadow banned, it probably should have been when you abandoned those cats, or how you are keeping that little boy away from his mother when you can't even provide him a home, or when you had your kids sleeping on stone mattresses, or when you go online and you say you're not going to get a job and that you're going to be self-employed while you live in a motel room with 7 kids, or when you said you wanted more children and you have 5 kids living in a motel room. Yeah, I could go on and on about the other reasons why you probably would be shadow banned. I just don't think that video was it. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments.
I'm gonna call you out on that right now, TikTok, because you start shadow banning my account the minute I start speaking up on Congo. That's not cool.
So, here we are again with Stephanie Jenkins, and this time it's not her usual teary-eyed monologue or motel room parenting update. No, this time she's convinced there's a grand conspiracy against her. According to Stephanie, her recent slump on TikTok isn't because people are tired of her content, it's because she spoke up about Congo. That's right. She's now claiming that TikTok is shadow banning her for raising awareness about the humanitarian crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let's unpack that for a second. In one of her recent posts, Stephanie said she was using her platform to shed light on the suffering of children in Congo. She claimed she was being a voice for the voiceless, standing in solidarity with innocent lives caught in chaos. She positioned herself as an advocate, and then, supposedly like magic, her views, likes, and comments just disappeared. And in Stephanie's mind, that could only mean one thing: TikTok is punishing her for speaking up for African children. But here's where it gets messy, because that narrative? It's not adding up. TikTok isn't out here banning people left and right for activism. In fact, the app is full of creators who talk about political unrest, global injustice, and humanitarian crises every single day without being shut down. Stephanie's theory starts falling apart the moment you zoom out. Because her drop in numbers didn't start with that one video. The decline? It's been a slow burn. It's been happening for months. The truth is, Stephanie's audience didn't vanish because of activism. They left because they were exhausted. Tired of watching the same drama unfold over and over. Tired of being pulled into a loop of motel life, chaos, trauma dumping, and absolutely no progress. At one point, Stephanie's followers, especially the hate watchers, tuned in religiously, not because they supported her, but because they were shocked. They wanted to see what wild thing she'd say next, what emotional breakdown she'd post, what confession she'd drop while her children sat in the background, visibly overwhelmed. But even hate watchers have limits. People started to realize that every comment, every stitch, every time they shared her video, even if it was to criticize her, it was still boosting her visibility. And what was she doing with that exposure? Definitely not using it to improve her kids' lives. They're still stuck in that cramped motel room. Still living in instability. Still being filmed during their worst, most vulnerable moments, especially her youngest son. Let's talk about that for a moment. Stephanie's content has crossed into deeply uncomfortable territory.
I don't think you guys have an actual problem with me. Everybody that doesn't like me, I don't think it's actually a problem with me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know why, Stephanie? Because you are choosing to put your children in the situation that you are because you refuse to unload what we call Drew Jenkins. Somebody who refuses to work, who refuses to put his family in a decent place. You sit there and co-sign all of the bull. Yes, Stephanie, it's you.
Went wrong in all of this, what her downfall truly is her underestimating the internet's hate for her. We all know, that woman knows that she monetizes off of the hate. That's why she does a ton of rage baiting. A lot of her views are hate watchers. A lot of her comments are hateful comments. She knows that she is the #1 hated mom on this app. But what she didn't realize is that while yes, the internet hates you and it puts money in your pocket, she didn't think that the internet hated her enough to flood that GoFundMe and make sure that Deshaun's real mom was able to get a lawyer to pluck Deshaun out of that living environment. No, she didn't. And neither did Drew. They didn't expect this. They didn't think about this. They're not that smart. They're not that smart.
I don't think you guys have an actual problem with me. Everybody that doesn't like me, I don't think it's actually a problem with me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know why, Stephanie? Because you are choosing to put your children in the situation that you are because you refuse to unload what we call Drew Jenkins. Somebody who refuses to work, who refuses to put his family in a decent place. You sit there and co-sign all of the bull. Yes, Stephanie, it's you. There's plenty things he's done, but there's plenty things you've done, honey. I don't know when you're going to realize, but who you choose as your significant other has a huge impact on your life and your children's lives. And the fact that you are choosing to stay in this situation is wild. And that is what a lot of people have an issue with. So yes, it is you, babes.
She continues to record her son during meltdowns, label him as autistic without any confirmed diagnosis, and push a narrative that he's difficult and exhausting, all for likes and sympathy. And yes, there's reportedly a court order telling her not to put him on camera, but she ignores that too. That's not just poor judgment, babe. That's reckless. People didn't stop watching because TikTok banned her, they stopped because they couldn't justify enabling her anymore. It wasn't advocacy. It wasn't awareness. It was trauma content, monetized. It was dysfunction, packaged as raw motherhood. And once her followers realized that even their negative engagement was padding her wallet and propping up a broken system, they tapped out. And now, instead of self-reflecting, instead of asking what she could do differently, Stephanie's pointing fingers. She's saying TikTok is silencing her. She's turning herself into the victim, again. But here's what she doesn't seem to get. The internet isn't turning against her. It just stopped caring. So, Stephanie Jenkins is once again crying foul, but not for the reasons you'd expect. She's now claiming that TikTok is out to get her because she dared to speak up about the crisis in Congo. That's her latest theory on why her views are tanking. Not the endless controversies, not the public backlash, not the endless red flags. Nope, in her world, it's because she posted a video about an African humanitarian crisis. But hold on a second, let's not let her distract us. The drop in engagement didn't suddenly happen because of one single video. In fact, anyone who's been paying attention could see the signs from a mile away. Stephanie's content has been circling the same drain for months, maybe even longer. The pattern is all too familiar: emotional breakdowns, poverty porn, kids caught on camera mid-meltdown, followed by a sprinkle of self-pity. It's content that plays like a never-ending reality show, except it's real children at the center of the chaos. Now let's talk about the environment. She's still filming from the same small motel room, packed to the ceiling with clutter. It's cramped, messy, and far from suitable for 7 people, especially little ones. But instead of trying to change her circumstances, she keeps pointing the camera at the chaos and calling it real life. Except it's not real life, it's performance. And people are starting to see through it. Then there's the misinformation. Stephanie's made bold claims about her son Boba being on the autism spectrum, yet there's no professional confirmation, no diagnosis, just assumptions. She's also tossed out some bizarre statements like how having a regular job would steal 10 years from your life.
Keeping her kids in free pop up in the side. She's really back in the kitchen already. Now, 9 times out of 10, I don't spend very much time in my comment section because it's just riddled with, like honestly, the amount of evil I see in not only my comment section, but just in comment sections in general on social media makes me think that they're going to do another flood. So yes, I'm back in the kitchen with my dad.
Went wrong in all of this, what her downfall truly is her underestimating the internet's hate for her. We all know, that woman knows that she monetizes off of the hate. That's why she does a ton of rage baiting. A lot of her views are hate watchers. A lot of her comments are hateful comments. Like, she knows that she is like the #1 hated mom on this app. But what she didn't realize is that while yes, the internet hates you and it puts money in your pocket, she didn't think that the internet hated her enough to flood that GoFundMe and make sure that Deshaun's real mom was able to get a lawyer to pluck Deshaun out of that living environment. No, she didn't. And neither did Drew. They didn't expect this. They didn't think about this. They're not that smart. And her leaving that hateful comment about Deshaun's mom, this is rage baiting. Drew not bringing Deshaun to see his mother, Drew getting on live and talking about Deshaun not really want to see his mother. That's all rage baiting. That's all for them to get views. But again, they didn't realize, or they didn't think that GoFundMe was going anywhere, because before Drew missing that visit, it was only at like $1,000. Now it's been 10K plus. And people are still donating. My ass is gonna go donate again this week. Already donated. Because we hate you that much. You're not a fit mom. You're not Deshaun's mom. And we don't want to see you win at this point. We want to see those kids win. Not you and not Drew. And Deshaun is winning when he's back with his mother. So Stephanie, you should have thought better. You should have did better. You wanted to go viral, boo? You did it in a way to exploiting your family and their living situation, and then you realize that that's how you get the views, so you continue to exploit your family, exploit y'all's living situation, and now guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna lose your meal ticket. You're gonna lose your meal ticket, and you're probably gonna lose that man. That man ain't finna stay with you, girl. He not gonna stay with you after his son is gone. He gonna leave you with them 4 kids, because technically the daughter and the son that you had with him, that's not his children. You're still married to that pedo in prison, so technically that's his children. Yep, your hate, Stephanie, is now your downfall.
It's not just nonsense, it's dangerous, especially when you consider her young, impressionable audience. And don't forget her whole pitch about motel life being a better choice than stable housing, even though the conditions she's in are clearly unsuitable for any child. None of it adds up, and viewers are noticing. But what's probably the most calculated move in her playbook? Stirring up controversy on purpose. Stephanie has made a habit out of making bold, insensitive statements just to rile people up, like when she casually claimed that getting her kids permanent housing wasn't urgent. That one lit up the app as stitches, duets, outrage. People were horrified. But guess what? That shockwave sent her numbers soaring. For a minute. Because the algorithm may have let it slide before, but TikTok's gotten smarter. The platform now knows when someone's manipulating outrage for clout. And once content gets flagged enough times for being emotionally exploitative or misleading, it gets buried, fast. And let's not overlook what might be the biggest issue of all, the user reports. TikTok pays attention when enough people raise alarms, and in Stephanie's case, there's been a flood of them. She's repeatedly filmed her son Deshaun in direct defiance of a court order. She's caught her kids during emotionally vulnerable moments, tantrums, breakdowns, trauma, and broadcast them to millions. She even documented the moment her family got evicted and acted like it was just another vlog. Viewers weren't just uncomfortable, they were horrified. And they reported her. Over and over. When a platform sees a flood of ethical complaints, repeated violations of children's privacy, and a creator who refuses to change course, the response isn't personal. It's policy. The content stops getting pushed. The creator stops trending. The numbers plummet. So now, instead of admitting what's really going on, Stephanie's pulling the censorship card. She's not looking inward, not owning up, not making any effort to understand why people have tuned out. Instead, she's blaming TikTok for what is clearly the result of her own choices catching up to her. Again. Let's cut through the noise. Stephanie Jenkins isn't being shadow banned because she mentioned the Congo. If her reach is tanking, it's not because she spoke out about an international crisis, it's because she's been pushing the limits on what's acceptable for a while now, and the platform finally caught up with her. We've all seen it in video after video of her kids in distress, filmed and posted for public consumption. Their most raw, vulnerable moments? Packaged as content. Not for awareness. Not to spark real change. But because the chaos sells. This isn't advocacy, it's a performance. And her family's pain is center stage. What's really happening is simple.
Okay. I don't think you guys have an actual problem with me. Everybody that doesn't like me, I don't think it's actually a problem with me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know why, Stephanie? Because you are choosing to put your children in the situation that you are because you refuse to unload what we call Drew Jenkins. Somebody who refuses to work, who refuses to put his family in a decent place. You sit there and co-sign all of the bull. Yes, Stephanie, it's you.
Went wrong in all of this, what her downfall truly is her underestimating the internet's hate for her. We all know, that woman knows that she monetizes off of the hate. That's why she does a ton of rage baiting. A lot of her views are hate watchers. A lot of her comments are hateful comments. She knows that she is the #1 hated mom on this app. But what she didn't realize is that, while yes, the internet hates you and it puts money in your pocket, she didn't think that the internet hated her enough to flood that GoFundMe and make sure that Deshaun's real mom was able to get a lawyer to pluck Deshaun out of that living environment. No, she didn't. And neither did Drew. They didn't expect this. They didn't think about this. They're not that smart. They're not that smart.
Her usual formula, trauma, drama, and endless pity pleas, isn't hitting the same anymore. The audience that once watched out of concern or curiosity, they're tuning out. And rather than owning up to the fact that people are over it, Stephanie's trying to spin it. She wants people to believe she's being silenced for doing something noble, like raising awareness for suffering children in Africa, when the real issue has been playing out in front of our eyes, in her own home, for months. This didn't happen overnight. The steady decline in support has been brewing for a while. People got tired. Tired of seeing the same overcrowded motel room. Tired of the messy living conditions. Tired of the excuses. They watched her put energy into filming the chaos instead of fixing it. They realized that their views were fueling dysfunction, not helping her grow. And when they realized she wasn't actually interested in change, they stopped watching. Let's talk about what's really been going on. The clickbait captions. The rage-inducing statements. The decision to film her son Boba during emotional episodes under the claim of raising awareness, without any medical diagnosis to back it up. The refusal to follow a court order by continuing to put Deshaun on camera. The misleading statements about how jobs steal 10 years of your life. The list goes on. These aren't minor slip-ups. These are patterns. And when a creator repeatedly violates privacy, spreads misinformation, and uses emotionally manipulative content to bait engagement, TikTok notices. So do viewers. And they're not just clicking away, they're reporting her. Not because they're haters, but because they're genuinely concerned about what they're seeing. Now that her numbers are tanking, Stephanie's not reflecting or reconsidering. She's not asking what she can do better. Instead, she's pointing fingers and reaching for sympathy. But this whole narrative about being targeted for speaking out just doesn't hold up. It's a convenient smokescreen, one that distracts from the real reason people are walking away, her refusal to protect her kids from becoming content. At this point, it's not even about whether she can regain her following, it's about the fact that the cracks are showing. The loyal viewers are gone. The hate watchers have moved on. And what's left is a woman trying to maintain relevance while everything around her falls apart. The truth is, she didn't lose her audience because of TikTok's algorithm, she lost them because people finally saw through the act. So what do you think, babe? Is this the beginning of the end for Stephanie's online grip? Or is she already plotting the next distraction, another excuse, another storyline to stay in the spotlight? Let's see how far she's willing to go, but one thing's for sure, this time, the internet might not be so quick to forgive.